grow up with a whole lot of agency as a kid, but there's one thing that I was allowed to do. Every summer, I was free to go outside and ride. And although my first bike was a hand-me-down, she was all mine. She had this metallic blue body, long mustache handlebars with a white basket, and this badass banana seat that was covered with red and purple and yellow flowers, and these streamers on the ends of the handlebars that went as I cruised around town. So my favorite place to ride this summer was to the elementary school for the rec department's summer playground. My legs, always considered too big and too chunky, would pump away up this huge hill on the way there. And at the beginning of the summer, I would have to get off my bike and walk it in order to make it to the top. But by the end of the summer, I could ride all the way to the top without stopping. Yes. So I made that ride every week. Sure, to get to the summer playground, but also because there was no feeling in the world like screaming down that hill, the wind in my face, my hair flying all over the place. I felt alive and free, like I was flying. When I graduated from 8th grade, I got my very own fancy ladies Schwinn bike, red, the curly handlebars and the skinny tires, and I rode it to and from tennis practice at the end of the summer. So one day, I'm riding home, and I've got my gear on my handlebars, and I've got a teammate's gear on my handlebars too. So I'm riding my usual path, and I notice that the bridge that I ordinarily use is full of people, and there's no room for me to cross. So I decide to bypass the bridge, ride the grass alongside of it. Then I notice the grass is gonna run out, and I'm gonna go over a cliff if I don't go on the bridge. So I reach for my brakes. But all I get is a handful of tennis rackets and sweatshirts, and I can't stop. My bike and I were tossed over the cliff, and I was tossed face first into a stone culvert. Everything went in slow motion, like you hear in the movies. I don't remember feeling any pain when my mouth hit that wall, just like a cold, hard impact. The next thing I can remember, I was sitting up on this field stone wall, basically in shock, while like half a dozen people looked for my teeth in the bottom of the stone culvert. We didn't realize at that point that they were embedded in the roof of my mouth. I tried to ride a bike again, on occasion, like maybe half a dozen times, but inevitably the same feeling of panic would rush over me and I would have to get off. And the story that I told myself was, I had had this incredible traumatic experience as a kid. It's only natural that I can't ride a bike, and I probably never will again. But in 2018, I started dating Jeff. He's a psychotherapist by trade, and he spent many years doing wilderness therapy with adolescents, outside, in the dead of winter, in Wisconsin. The guy knew how to survive, and being with him helped me feel safe. And then there was another thing that happened when we first started dating. He completed this 50-mile bike ride called Bike to the Beat that combines music and biking. And for the first time in, I don't know, like 40 years, something in me wanted to get on a bike again. And there was something inside of me that was committed to trying. So the following spring, Jeff took me to this bike shop where you can literally ride the bikes that they have in the store right out the door and onto this really safe trail. So I decided to try it. I got back on a bike. And yeah, at first, I was really shaky and I had moments of panic. I even had to get off at one point. But I was on a mission. I was determined. And Jeff was right there encouraging me. So I tried out like 3 or 4 different bikes until I found one that I just loved. And if there's any bike geeks, she's a Liv Rove 3 black with teal details. I love my bike. So the other thing I decided that day was that I was going to train for my very own 50-mile ride. So I got up one Sunday morning to train really, really early. I was up before the rest of the town was up. And I was just cruising along. I was having the best time singing along to Camila Cabella and Shawn Mendes. I love it when you call me senorita. Yeah, that carefree bliss of riding my bike, that freedom was back. I was back, baby. Then I noticed up ahead, coming to a stop sign, was this sketchy van. Like the kind of van where you would see its picture next to the words sketchy van in the dictionary. Really long, no windows, kind of doors that open, double doors in the back. And I just thought it was kind of weird. It was really early and I hadn't seen any other vehicles that morning. So the driver goes through the intersection, stops, does a double take when he sees me, does a Y turn, and now he's going in the same direction I'm going in. And he's riding really slow. Like slow enough where I could catch up on my bike. Well, God damn it. I was just completely blissed out. I was just having the time of my life. And now I don't even feel safe riding my route anymore. Dude, I'm not gonna pass this van. I have seen Silence of the Lambs. So I turned my bike around and I start riding in the other direction, really slowly at first, and then as fast as I could. And that's when it happened. That same familiar panic rushed over me, and rather than riding my bike to safety, I went slamming into a curb, where my bike stopped and my body kept going, launching me over the handlebars, landing hard on the ground, top half of my body hitting the ground, bottom half of my body banging into the bottom half of my bike. And I just sort of laid there stunned, wind knocked out of me, unsure whether or not I could even get up. I took a couple breaths and slowly started to get up and just began to sob and sob, because my carefree freedom ride days on my bike were over. And maybe biking just wasn't for me after all, and here was the proof. But that phrase kept going through my head about getting back on the horse. So I slowly got back on my bike and started to make my way home. And with all that adrenaline running through my body, my tears of sadness turned to tears of rage. Because I felt like nobody, and I mean nobody, was gonna take that ride away from me and all that freedom now that I had just rediscovered it. So I took about 2 weeks off to let some bruised ribs and a very sore knee heal. And then I started training for the 50 again, because I'm stubborn like that. And I found a hill to train on. And at first, I had to walk my bike to make it to the top of that hill. But soon, I could pedal all the way to the top, grateful for these big old muscular legs. And when I would go screaming down the other side with the wind in my face, the scenery flying by, I felt a new freedom. Because now biking, it was forever mine. And yeah, the rib injury did keep me from completing a 50 that summer. But we did complete a 30. And while I was crossing that finish line for the first time since that little blue bike with the glittery streamers, I knew I could fly.